In this lecture, we'll connect Telegram to the ChatGPT API in Make, formerly in Tegromat. This is our first time working in Make, and I've included links in the resources for you. Now, if you haven't already set up a Make account, please go ahead and create one. It's free and simple with no complicated sign-up process. Once you've got your Make account up and running, you'll see a dashboard like mine. That's where you join me inside my Make account, all set to start building. So the first thing that you'll want to do after logging in is expand the side navigation, and with that expanded, you'll want to click on Scenarios, and from here it's where you'll see all the automations that you create. So to kick off our automation and begin building it, we'll want to click Create a New Scenario in the top right hand corner. Before diving into anything, let's give our automation a title in the top left corner. I'm going to call it GPT Reply Bot. With that out of the way, we can add our first application to the scenario. The first application that we'll want to add is Telegram. So to do this, you'll want to click on the first module, and then you'll see a whole menu of applications pop up. And you'll simply want to search for Telegram, and once you've found it, you'll want to add it. So here we can see Telegram bot. With the application added to our scenario, it's time to start setting up its functionality. So we can close any instructions that appear, for example, a tutorial that has appeared here to show us how to connect Telegram, because I'm going to walk through everything with you, so there'll be no confusion whatsoever. So we can click off that and continue building our Telegram bot functionality out. And we can then define the specific function that we want the Telegram bot to have. And in our case, what we want is watch updates. So instead of searching through the whole menu, I'm just going to search for watch updates. And we can see that this triggers when there is a new update from your Telegram desktop application. And that's what we want. So make sure to select that. Once you've selected that, you'll then be prompted to set up a webhook between Make and Telegram. If you're not sure what a webhook is, let me break it down for you. So in simple terms, a webhook is a way for two different applications to communicate with each other. So when something happens in one application, a notification is sent to the other application through a webhook. In our case, we'll create a webhook between Make and our Telegram bot. So whenever a message comes into our Telegram bot, the webhook will trigger inside Make. That's the basics. So let's now get it set up. So you'll want to start by clicking Add. And once you do that, two boxes will appear. One for your webhook name and another for the connection. So let's rename our webhook to something simple like Telegram and then webhook. So that's pretty clear. Next, we'll click the Add button to set up the connection to Telegram. And first, what we'll want to do here is rename the connection name and do it something more specific. So I'm going to rename this specific connection to GPT Reply Bot Connection. And now it's time to enter our access token from Telegram into the token box. So what you'll want to do here is switch over to BotFather in Telegram to find the access token that I mentioned earlier. And so we switch over to Telegram, we go into the BotFather chat, and we copy this token here. So there we can see it's copied now to the clipboard, and with that copied, we can head back to Make. And back in Make, we'll want to paste that token into the token box. Once you've done that, click Save. It'll then take a few moments to confirm the connection, but once it's done, you can then click Save again, and again, that'll take a few moments, but once that's also done, you can click OK, because everything is now connected with that Telegram bot that we created. And there we have it. we've successfully connected the webhook for our Telegram bot in Make. And as you'll know by now, if you went through the previous section, I like to test everything as I go to make sure that it's working. So let's test this to make sure that the connection is set up correctly. So you'll want to move your cursor above the module, right click, and then select Run this module only. Make will then run and wait for an input in our created Telegram bot. So I'm going to switch over to Telegram, go to the bot we created, and enter some random text. So I'll enter hello. It can be anything really. And what I'll now do is head back to Make. And inside of Make, what you'll now see is that a speech bubble appears. And that means it has recognized an input. So let's check the actual data received by clicking on the speech bubble. And then what we'll want to do, under Operation, which we can see here, we'll want to expand the first bundle, which is expanded. And then we'll want to expand Message to see the text from the Telegram bot that it received. And we can see here the text that we entered has been recognized. So now we know the connection is set up and it's working correctly. We can now close the return data by clicking the X. And now that everything is set up properly, we're ready to move on to the next step. In this next step, we'll add the ChatGPT API to our scenario in Make and connect it to the Telegram module. So to add the ChatGPT API module, you'll want to click on Add another module, so the half circle icon next to the Telegram bot. Once you've done that, you'll again want to click Add another module, and from here we'll be able to search for ChatGPT, which we can see here. So OpenAI, then in brackets DALL-E and ChatGPT. And the specific function that we want from here is to create a completion. And we can now configure OpenAI and ChatGPT settings. But before we dive in, I just want to click the magic wand along the bottom, and that will auto align everything so it's easier for you to view and to work along with me. But back to OpenAI, our first task is to click Add to add a connection. Now this process is similar to how we connected Telegram with Make, but this time we'll do it with OpenAI. So as mentioned, you had to click Add to begin, which will then present you several options. So connection name, API key, and organization ID. So first up, the connection name I'm going to leave as my OpenAI connection. Below that, API key. This is where we need to enter our unique OpenAI API key. So let's go and find that now and enter it in here. So to get our OpenAI API key, you'll want to log into your OpenAI account, and you'll be familiar with this dashboard that you see if you've used OpenAI and you've created an account and walked through the initial tutorial with me. But once you're here, you'll want to click on your username in the top right, then select View API Keys. Now on the API Keys page, you'll want to select Create New Secret Key. And we can start by giving this a name, and I'm going to enter Make-Telegram, something very simple and descriptive. Then click Create Secret Key. Once the key is generated, I'm going to copy it, and remember you should keep this safe, because if anyone gets access to this, they'll be able to, in theory and in practice, use your usage. So it's very important that you keep this private. Now I'm not too concerned because I'll delete this after I've created the tutorial, but for you, please keep this private. So once you've copied your API key, then click Done. Now if you ever forget your API key, you'll need to generate a new one and then update any tools that are using it. And actually, while you're in OpenAI, I want to show you something. So let's go to the usage page, and from here, you'll see all of the calls that you make using the API. Now, if you have an older OpenAI account, I recommend creating a new one to get the free trial period for the API. Otherwise, you'll have to pay for access like I do. You can also set up capped billing under the billing page. If you do, pay for usage of the API. And under usage limits on the billing page, you can set hard and soft limits so you don't go over certain amounts that you're comfortable with. But now that you've got your API key, we can go back to make and paste it in under API key. And now you might be wondering about the next option, which is Organization ID. We'll need to provide this from our OpenAI account too, so let me show you how to access this. So back in our OpenAI account, what you'll want to do is open the menu from the drop down and select Manage Account. And from here, you'll be able to find your Organization ID. And this is what we need to copy and paste into Make. Again, as with the API key, you should keep this private. So once you've copied this, you can go back to Make and paste it into Organization ID. And with that done, you can then click Save. And now, as long as everything is set up correctly, the settings for the application will expand, allowing you to customize how you want to use the functions. So let's walk through this together in detail. To begin, first you'll see the select method, which we can expand the options for. And we want to work with ChatGPT, so we'll want to make sure that create a chat completion is selected. Next up is model. So we'll want to open the settings for this, and we'll want to select the GPT 3.5 Turbo model. It's the model designed for ChatGPT, and currently it's the model that most people have access to, and it's exactly what we need for this project. Of course, there are several models under OpenAI that you can see from the menu that we just opened, with GPT 3.5 Turbo being just one of them. It's the most capable model that most people currently have access to. If newer models become available, or if anything changes, I'll update the project resources lecture accordingly. The GPT 3.5 Turbo model sits between GPT-3 and GPT-4, making it pretty powerful. Best of all, it's optimized for chat, and it is 1/10 of the cost of the Text DaVinci 003 model. And with that done, we can now define our message to the ChatGPT API in the settings. So what you'll want to do under Messages is click Add Item. Now if you've worked through other sections of this course, this might look familiar. If not, no worries, we'll go through everything together again. So first, we need to define the role. So for that, what we'll want to do is select User. Feel free to experiment with this, but for this project, you can follow along with what I'm doing to see how it actually all comes together and works. Next, let's tackle the message content. So if you went through the prompt engineering section, this part will be familiar. So I'll create the message content and then explain my reasoning. So I'm going to enter the following. Write a short reply to this message in a friendly and cooperative tone. Then I'm going to insert a colon, and then inside quotations, what I'm going to do is get data from the Telegram bot, and I'm going to get the text. So when someone enters a text into the Telegram bot, I want to use this data. So the way we are going to find this is by going under Message and then looking for text, which we can see here. And you can see it says hello, which is the sample text that we used when we tested the Telegram bot function. So I'm going to select that. And there we can see our prompt is now created. So let me now explain why I crafted the prompt the way I did. So I wanted to create a bot that replies to our message, which is message then colon text. So this is an updating variable. I wanted to reply to it in a short and friendly manner, making it more conversational. Hence, I explicitly mentioned friendly and cooperative tone. As you can see, the prompt clearly defines that. And then we of course have the action, which is write a short reply. So we have the action, and then we have the tone, and then we provide it the data, which is the message text that we want it to reply to and write a reply for. So everything that we've created as part of our prompt nudges the model to get the output that we want. Now, I'm not going to dive deeper into prompt engineering in this lecture as we're focused on building our project, but if you skipped that section, I suggest going back to review it. But with the message content set, we can now move on, so click the OK button after configuring the settings. As I've done before, and you're likely familiar with by now, I want to test each module to make sure it works as intended before proceeding to the next. So let's do that for this module too. So what I'm going to do is hover over the OpenAI module, right-click for the options, and select Run this module only. Now we'll be prompted to enter a text string for testing without using the Telegram bot, which is super convenient. So what I'm going to do is type the following, which is similar to the message content that we created when setting up our function. Write a short reply to this message in a friendly and cooperative tone. And the message that I'm going to enter in between quotations is, hey, it has been a while, want to catch up soon. And then we can see it ends with the quotation marks as well. So everything is wrapped in the quotation marks, and that message is similar to the message content that we set up. So once I've entered this text, I can then click OK. The module will then run, testing everything we defined in the settings. Once the test is complete, a speech bubble will appear. So we can click on that speech bubble to see the API call result. Now, before showing you the output, I want to show you what the input looked like from everything that we set up. So what you'll want to do is expand bundle, and then under messages, you'll see the role and the message content. And this is the message that we crafted where we want to write a short reply to the following message, which is, hey, it has been a while, want to catch up soon. And the role is set to user. And now what we want to do is see the output that this input provided. So let's go under output, which we can see here. Make sure bundle is expanded. And first, let's expand usage. And here we can see the tokens that it costs to call the API with our input. You would have noticed this from other projects where I mentioned it, and you're seeing this again now. So the prompt tokens for this call were 53. The total tokens were 86, which includes the completion tokens. I have a very good lecture in the FAQ section, which explains tokens in a lot more detail, because that's how requests, so when you make a call to the API, that's how they're broken down. They're broken down into tokens, and each letter, each piece of punctuation is its own token. And I've also linked to the OpenAI tokenizer calculator in the course resources, where you can type in a string of text and you can see how that's actually broken down. But do check out the FAQ section with the lecture on tokens to get a better idea about how they work. But anyway, I just wanted to highlight that about how many tokens that this call actually used, because it's crucial to understand them if you want to use the API more professionally. Now, to see the actual text output, what we'll want to do is expand choices, expand the first option, expand messages, and then we'll see the role, which is assistant, and then we'll see the content, so the output provided from our input. And it's pretty clear and it's pretty great so far. So it says, hey there, great to hear from you. I would love to catch up soon. Let me know when works best for you and we'll make it happen. So everything looks good and it's working correctly. Now, if you're not happy with this output, perhaps you want it more conservative or even more friendly, feel free to experiment with different prompts by editing the message content inside the OpenAI module. But for now, it's working pretty well for me, so I'm going to click X to close the menu and we can wrap up on this lecture. So great job on setting up Telegram and connecting it to OpenAI in Make. In the next lecture, we'll take all of this and feed it back into Telegram, so stick around and let's do that together.